The naira has fallen further to the dollar after closing at 950 naira per dollar at the parallel market. Now you know how we do it. So over the next half hour, we'll be looking beyond the business headlines by bringing you in-depth perspectives on what's happening in the business world. First of all, we'll take a look at Forex, then we'll proceed to borrowing, telecommunication, oil theft. These and more comes to you after the break. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to Business This Week Today. My name is Chinwe Nwokocha. We begin today's news with the Forex. The Naira has fallen further to the dollar today after closing at 950 Naira per dollar at the parallel market. Bureau de change operators who spoke to newsmen said the Naira, which had earlier closed at 930 Naira per dollar at the close of operation earlier this week, was bought and sold at 935 to 950 Naira per dollar. Now, recall at the investor and exporter Forex markets, the Naira closed at 758.12 Naira per dollar from 742.10, according to figures obtained from the FMDQ, the official trading platform. A BDC operator Sanusi Ibrahim said the Naira was bought and sold at 935 Naira per dollar, and however, what will happen further is still unknown. Meanwhile, the Association of Bureau de Change Operators of Nigeria recently urged the Central Bank of Nigeria to grant Bureau de Change Operators digital autonomy to achieve exchange rate convergence. And now let's take a look at borrowings. And according to financial results, at least 4 banks recorded 478 billion naira non-performing loans during the first half of this year. Specifically, the banks are Guarantee Trust Bank Holdings, First Bank of Nigeria Holdings, and 2 other banks recorded 478.93 billion naira non-performing loans by value in the half year ended June 2023, and that is an increase of nearly 16% from 413.36 billion naira reported in the full year ended December 31st, 2022. The other 2 banks are FCMB Group PLC and Fidelity Bank PLC, with about 4.3% NPL ratio and 5.26 trillion naira gross in loans advances. FBN Holdings, that is First Bank of Nigeria, recorded 226.24 billion naira NPL by value in the first quarter in 2023 from 204.29 billion naira reported in 2022. Now, the holdings declared 5.4% NPL ratio and 3.79 trillion naira gross loans and advances in the 2022 financial fiscal year. And away from that, and let's take a look at telecommunication. The executive vice chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, in the person of Professor Umar Dangote, said the bank's 120 billion naira unstructured supplementary data service debt-owned telecommunication firms is slowing down financial inclusion. Dangote noted that without the service, digital financial inclusions, which he pegged at 60 to 70% in the country, would not be where it is currently. He said the merit of the service is that without it, there will be no digital financial inclusion and the penetration would not be where it is now. Dangote revealed these at the Association of Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria's Telecom Executives and Regulators Forum in Lagos. According to him, banks had finally agreed to pay for the service following sustained intervention from the NCC and the acting Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Folashodun Shonubi. And now the local bourse suffered another day of dip as investors lost 112 billion naira at the close of trading. Investors lost 27 billion naira as trading activities slowed as the nation awaited the decision of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. The market reacted negatively as the amount of loss worsened to 112 billion naira, with the market capitalization losing 0.29% to close at 37.26 trillion naira. Now, similarly, the NGX All Share Index lost 204.17 basis to close at 68.08, and although the volume of shares traded dropped to 378.089, the value of the traded shares was higher at 8.38 billion naira compared to the previous trading figures of 5.48 billion naira. Now, the shares were traded in 8,106 days. On the losers table were Nestle, which lost at 1.29% of its share value to close at 1.075. Zenith Bank lost 0.14% to close at 36.95. Nascon's share dipped by 6.83% to close at 56.60 naira per unit. Meanwhile, Dangote Sugar lost at 3.98% to close at 64 naira. And on imports and exports, Nigeria recorded a 1.3 trillion naira trade surplus in the second quarter of 2023, now representing a 38% rise when compared to 927.15 billion naira recorded in the first quarter of 2023. However, year on year, the trade position was 7.6% decline from the figures in the corresponding period of 2022. Now, this comes against the backdrop of increases recorded in total imports and exports during the period. The National Bureau of Statistics disclosed this in its foreign trade in goods statistics for the first quarter of 2023, adding that the total merchandise trade also increased by 5.1% to 12.7 trillion naira in the second quarter from 12.04 trillion in the first quarter. According to the Bureau, the top 5 partner countries or region of imports to Nigeria were China, the United States of America, Belgium, India, and the Netherlands. Now, members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria have projected a continuous decline in the federal government's fiscal deficit in the third quarter and fourth quarter of 2023. They based their projections on the recent efforts by the government to manage expenditures better and also improve oil and non-oil revenues. This was revealed in their personal statements contained in the CBN MPC Communique 149. In his statement, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Aliyu Ahmed, said the fiscal deficit is expected to decline in the third and fourth quarters of 2023 on the back of recent efforts by the new government to manage expenditures better and also improve oil and non-oil revenues. Speaking on the fiscal sector, Professor Adenikinju Adiola, a member, explained that both the government revenue and expenditures underperformed between January and May 2023. And on fuel subsidy removal, the 650,000 barrels per day Dangote Refinery is yet to begin production after the August commencement date. Now, recall earlier announced by the president of Dangote, Aliko Dangote. Meanwhile, while delivering his speech at the official commissioning of the refinery by former President Muhammadu Buhari in May, Dangote said the first product of refined oil will be in the market before the end of July or beginning of August this year. However, according to findings, no drop of refined petroleum products from the refinery has hit the market weeks after he promised production deadline. Now, reacting to these developments, the President, Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Festus Osifo, advised the federal government to focus on completing the Port Harcourt refinery rather than focus on the Dangote refinery. A source at the refinery revealed that the management was unsure of when petroleum refining would begin at the Ipeju Lekki facility. You're still watching Business This Week on Viewer Television. It's time for a break, and when we return, the program continues. Stay with us.
Souls came together. Came together. Two souls came together. Where am I now?
Tat Fragrance, the new luxury fragrance for men and women.
In this 21st century, where all the information we need is now in the palm of our hands. News from around the world, entertainment, celebrity gossip, sports, and much more. The only thing that you need is the right source. Viewer TV is now on the go. Simply check us out on our social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter for all the information you need.
Welcome back. You're still watching Business This Week on Viewer Television. Now let's take a look at crude oil export. Over the week, the price of Nigeria's Bonelite has rose to $92.79 per barrel from $90.88 per barrel recorded last week as the impact of extended output cuts hits the market. Russia extended its voluntary crude oil export cut by 300,000 barrels per day until December 2023, while Saudi Arabia extended its 1 million daily supply cut into October 2023 to boost price stability. Now, the price, which is the highest in 2023, showed an excess of $17.79 per barrel against the 2023 budget benchmark price of $75. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs Commodity Research predicted that oil supply cuts could lead to oil prices hitting $107 per barrel in 2024. In an interview with Newsmen, a sector A sector analyst, Professor Omowumi Iledere, said Nigerians and others should expect prices to rise further, especially as oil inventories have reduced drastically in the United States. Still talking about the oil, Special Advisor to the Delta State Government on Niger Delta Affairs, Griffithson Omatsuli, has described as dangerous the clamors for the federal government to withdraw the services of pipeline surveillance companies in the Niger Delta. Now, he stated this during a recent tour of the 87 meters Trans-Focados pipeline contracted to an indigenous firm, Ocean Marine Solution. According to him, the effect of the vandalism of the pipelines has a terrible impact on the economy, ecosystem, health, infrastructure, and the aquatic life of the communities. Hence, withdrawing the services of surveillance firms will worsen vandalism and reduce government's revenue from oil sales. He said that vandals had committed many atrocities that should not be encouraged. He explained that the pipelines had so far been kept safe with the help of the communities, the Nigerian Navy, and other regulatory agencies. A presidential delegation that recently inspected key oil facilities in the Niger Delta region revealed that Nigeria currently loses $4 million daily to crude oil theft, vandalism of assets, among others. Moving on, the President Bola Tinubu has directed the Central Bank of Nigeria to create a platform for quarterly reconciliatory meetings with foreign airlines to address the backlog of trapped funds in excess of $6 million. This came as leading aircraft manufacturer Airbus Industry, on the sidelines of the summit, predicted that Nigeria's domestic air traffic was set to increase by 5% annually of the next 2 decades. This is even as the International Air Transport Association criticized Nigeria over multiple charges imposed on airlines operating in the country. Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development Festus Keyamo, who disclosed news of the reconciliatory meeting at the ongoing African Aviation Summit in Abuja, noted that the development was one of the reasons President Tinubu traveled to the United Arab Emirates. And on tax reforms, the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, said Nigeria has over 60 different forms of taxes and levies. Many of the taxes, he added, made life unbearable for the poor in the society. Oyedele said his committee was working to reduce taxes and levies to less than 10, which would be a decrease of 83.33%. He further noted that most of the taxes were coming from the local governments, while the money they got of the time was not remitted to government coffers. According to him, some local governments were taking advantage of the constitution levy payments, such as wheelbarrow tax and pure water tax on the poor society, who are struggling to make ends meet. The Bank of Industry has achieved a 3.3 trillion naira total assets as at June 30th, 2023. This represents a year-on-year growth of 67% on 1.97 trillion naira asset level as at June 2022. Now, profit before tax after impairments has grown by an impressive 177% year-on-year to 104 billion naira from 37.5 billion naira in 2022. The bank has historically been able to maintain a non-performing loan rate below regulatory threshold of 5%. The bank's non-performing loan as at June 2023 was 1.88%, down from 3.6% as at December 2022. Now, BOI also has grown its equity position by 57% to 634 billion naira from 403.6 billion naira, which exceeds regulatory requirements of 10 billion naira for retail development finance institutions. Moving on, the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners has called on the federal government to stop the 7.5% value-added tax on automotive gas oil, popularly known as diesel. NATO said the halt of VAT on diesel had become fundamental in order to avert disruptions in the distribution and supply of premium motor spirits, popularly known as petrol. The association said diesel is the product required for fueling about 90% of the haulage trucks that convey PMS from depots located mostly in the south to various filling stations across the country. It observed that prior to the introduction of VAT on diesel, the cost of the commodity was barely above 600 naira per litre, but had increased to almost 1,000 naira per litre currently. This, it said, had also raised the cost of transportation. PMS by transporters recall that the federal government confirmed that it had commenced the implementation of the payment of 7.5% VAT on diesel. Now, the Nigerian Customs Service says it has entered an agreement with its Benin Republic counterpart to enable importers to clear their goods from the port in Cotonou. Adewale Adeniyi, Acting Comptroller General of the NCS, disclosed this in Abuja at the end of a two-day working visit by the Director General and the senior officials of the Customs Service of Benin Republic. Adeniyi noted that the meeting was aimed at boosting trade relations between Nigeria and Benin Republic, as well as curbing smuggling. Responding to the questions on the opening of the port, Adeniyi said the customs would ensure that due process is being followed. Well, that's how much we can take on business this week today. My name is Chinwe Nwokocha, and from all of us here at Viewer Television, we say thank you and see you same time next week. Bye for now.